Google CEO Sundar Pichai has come out to criticize President Donald Trump's controversial immigration order targeting people from 7 Muslim-majority countries, saying that it will create barriers to bringing great talent to the US. Sundar Pichai, in an email to staffers, said the US ban on foreign nationals from 7 Muslim-majority countries will hit at least 187 Google employees. The internet search giant has ordered a recall of over 100 staff overseas. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, meanwhile, has also criticized Trump's decision to severely limit immigrants and refugees from certain Muslim-majority countries, saying America is a nation of immigrants and should be proud of the same. All right, let's get in our colleague, Deputy Editor Smita Sharma, who is joining us on this broadcast. But before we go across to her, Steve Herman, senior journalist, is joining us over the phone lines to give his analysis, really his take on this developing story. Mr. Herman, thank you for speaking to India Today. You know, over the last many days, there has been some sharp criticism of Trump's order. But how really do you see it impacting the US economy? Because now we're seeing Sundar Pichai, we're seeing Mark Zuckerberg, all of them talking about how this will affect their own companies.
Well, as we understand it, this applies to people from a limited amount of countries, and it does seem with some of these tech companies that there are perhaps hundreds of people affected, but we're not talking about thousands of people. And there is some initial confusion and anger, and now we have lawsuits about this. And I've just heard a little while ago one of the 2 Iraqi citizens who had a green card, who was detained on arrival at JFK, who was a resident of the United States, has now been released. So I think in some of these cases, it is a little bit of a confusion with the immigration officers, and because of the outrage and the pressure coming into Washington, that some of these people may be allowed to come into the country who were legally residing here.
Also give us a sense of really the sentiment in America over this decision. Is there, a lot of, skepticism about this particular decision? How are people reacting to this order that's been passed by Trump?
Well, I think it depends on what part of the country you're in and whether you voted for President Trump or not. And in the heartland of America, the people that did support him and are worried about immigration, legal or illegal, are cheering this. But you have a lot of politicians, you have a lot of activists, and a lot of journalists on social media are really expressing outrage. Also, a number of academics are protesting this, and what they're saying is this move to really block the refugees is really not in the spirit of America. But there are those who remember back World War II when the Jews who wanted to escape the Nazis found that the ports were closed to them. So I think it all depends on your political perspective as to how you're reacting to this right now.
All right, Steve Herman, thank you for speaking to India Today and giving your perspective really on this piece of breaking news. Let's go across to Deputy Editor Smita Sharma, who's also joining us on this broadcast. Smita, open criticism coming in there for Trump from the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, from Sundar Pichai, who possibly for the first time has spoken out on Donald Trump as well. They've all criticized this latest order from Donald Trump. Do you think it's the beginning of many to come?
Well, we have to understand, Akshita, what is happening here. Let's break it down. What's happened is Donald Trump has put in what he calls a suspension over the Syrian immigration program. It's a suspension for 120 days for entry of immigrants or visitors from 7 countries specifically, out of 4 in which, the US bombings are actually on. So 7 of these countries, including Syria, Iran, people from these countries will be debarred from entering US for the next 120 days. What the implication also coming out is that perhaps almost 5 lakh people who are green card holders but at the moment out of America may not be able to return till this time the temporary